Y'all, hey, welcome back to my channel. Thanks so much for stopping by. Y'all, we got a new toy to unbox, but before we get into all this, you know the drill. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. And while you do all that, I'm gonna go ahead and get this out of the shipping box and get it ready to open up so we can get into it. Y'all, looky here. Now, I know you know from the thumbnail or the title or whatever you've seen that I got a Nook, but play along, I'm excited. So I got the Nook GlowLight 4. Y'all, if I've ever had a Nook, and I might have, because back in the day I had a Zune, I had all the things. So I might have had a Nook. Do y'all remember the Zune? Anyway, I know, don't shame me. I might have had a Nook back in the day, but I don't remember. I don't remember a thing in the world about them. So let's dig into this and see what we've got. The Nook is, of course, the Barnes & Noble e-reader. So where Amazon has the Kindle, Barnes & Noble has the Nook. So let's open this thing up and see what we've got. I got the GlowLight 4, which was, I want to say it was about $150. I had a little discount because I was a Barnes & Noble member, and I maybe got a little honey coupon or something. So it was $150 out the door, by which I mean I ordered it online and it was $150 coming to my door. So here's what we've got. It's the Nook GlowLight 4, and from what I understand, this Nook is the one that most closely compares to the Kindle Paperwhite. So inside the box, we have the Nook and the ubiquitous Quick Start Guide. We have a charging cable, which is USB-C. And it's the plug into the computer kind, or like plug into the thing that plugs into the wall, but there is no wall plug with it. And it looks like that's all that's in the box. So let's peel this off. So that's just like the sticky bit that protects the screen. So one thing that I found intriguing about the Nook is that it has page turn buttons. And y'all, I think I want to just talk about the Nook sort of qua e-reader, like just Nook as Nook, not Nook compared to other things. But I don't know how well I'm going to do with that because y'all know that I'm like a Kindle girl. So let me say this. The Nook has page turn buttons like the Kindle Oasis. So the Paperwhite does not have page turn buttons. None of the other modern Kindles have page turn buttons other than the Oasis. Well, the GlowLight 4 has page turn buttons. So it's got the buttons and it has on-screen controls. So that'll be interesting to see what that experience is like with the sort of going back and forth between those page turn buttons and the on-screen controls. So I'm supposed to press and hold the power button to get started. And there we go. She is powering up. So I tell you what, y'all, I'm going to let this do its thing. Like I said, I haven't touched one of these things. If I have in the past, it's been a very long time. So I'm going to let this power up, and then I don't think I'm going to do like how to set it up because I don't really know how to set it up. So I'm going to figure out all that. I'll probably mess around with it for a few days, and then I'll let you know my initial thoughts on this Nook GlowLight 4, okay? So y'all sit tight and I'll be back. All right, y'all, I've been using the Nook for a couple of weeks and I have some thoughts. So I have my dogs. Here's Daisy and Bo. So they are here to co-pilot this thing. I got the Nook and I have my notes. So let's just talk through the basics of the Nook and then I will give you my impressions. So this is the Nook GlowLight 4. There's a GlowLight, I think GlowLight 4E or GlowLight 4E, which is sort of the step down version of this, but this is the GlowLight 4. It's $149.99. And I think with my Barnes & Noble membership, I got a discount, and then it was like a few dollars off for something else. But we'll just call it $149.99 because that's what it is. That's like the actual price of the thing. So as we're discussing it, I'm not going to be comparing it to the Kindle, but price-wise, a fair comparison with the Kindle would be like the basic Kindle Paperwhite. So just bear that in mind as we talk about this. So let's start off with the hardware, with the form factor of the thing. The screen. The screen is a 6-inch, 300 ppi e-ink Carta HD display. It's the same one that they've had for a while. I think the GlowLight 3 had the same display. The body of the GlowLight 4, the dimensions are 4.7 inches by 6.2 inches, and it's like 1/10 of an inch thick. So it's small, right? It's compact. It's very portable, if that's what you're looking for. And the screen, I know you can't see it, like you can't tell, but the screen has a built-in glare-free and scratch-resistant screen protector. So it really is less glary and less reflective than other e-reader devices. You can probably see that it has a recessed screen, so it's not the flush screen that we see on some other e-readers, which some people complain that it collects more dust. And I'll show you later when we're trying to back up, the back arrow's up here kind of under the edge of the screen, so it makes it a little dicey to get to. But some people also say that because the GlowLight doesn't have layers of material or layers of glass between this layer of screen and like the top to bring it up flush, that it gives it more of a crisp and clear picture, like it's a crisper display. So I don't know. Some people don't like the recessed screen and some people do. It's just a matter of taste, I guess. I will tell you one thing for sure is that it's a little bit harder to clean, like it's harder to get down into the edges because it's recessed. It's a little harder than like a flush screen to keep clean. You see it's got page turn buttons. We'll talk about those. It's got page turn buttons on both sides, and it's got a physical button at the bottom. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's got a click when you turn pages. I actually heard a reviewer complain about that it like disturbed his reading experience. I like the click and I like the feel of the buttons. It's a very sort of even experience over the entire button. Like there's not a certain spot that you have to hit to turn the page with a button. So the buttons I feel are very well designed. Let's talk a little bit about the guts of the device. It's got 29 gigs of usable storage. I think it advertises 34 gigs, but like some of that is for the operating system and the guts and the gewgaws, but 29 gigs are actually usable. 24 gigs of that are for Nook specific software, and 5 gigs are available for side-loaded content like EPUB files or PDF files. And y'all, just a side note on that, 24 gigs is a ton of storage for ebook content, especially considering that the Nook doesn't support audiobooks of any type because there's no audio hardware. Like there's no speaker, you can't hook up any kind of like Bluetooth to it. There's no audio, nothing. So you can't download audiobooks. So the only books that you can download are actual like true ebooks. So you can download a ton of e-content on that 29 gigs, 24 of which are for Nook books. So let's get into what we're all here for. Let's talk about the experience of reading on the Nook. Now, anytime that you want to start reading on the Nook, you have to slide to unlock. Y'all, that drives me to distraction. Now, we're going to talk about my reflections on the Nook at the end of this video, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you that's one thing that drives me crazy is once you've unlocked the thing, like physically turned it on, you still have to slide to unlock it. Drives me bananas. So anyway, once you've unlocked it, you see that you have this top bar of controls. You have your library, you have store recommendations, and then you have the navigation bar across the bottom. We're going to go systematically through each one of those. So let's start at the top bar. In the top left corner, if you click the top left corner, you get your account information. And within there, you have your account, You can manage your credit cards, gift cards, purchase passcode, all of that stuff. And then you can also get to settings here, and we'll get into that in a minute. There's not a whole lot within the settings. On the top right, you'll see that you have this little light bulb icon, a Wi-Fi icon, and a battery icon. Each one of those is not a different menu. You can touch anywhere on that and it takes you to the same thing. And what that takes you to is your quick settings, which is your Wi-Fi, GlowLight, night mode, your battery level, and then your all settings. And within all settings, this is what I was talking about a second ago. There's not a whole lot in here, y'all. Within all settings, we have Wi-Fi, GlowLight, the library, where you can change settings within your library, reader, and it's within here that you can change the orientation of your page turn buttons. So you can have the top button either advance your page or go a page back. And you do that inside here, but that's all that does. And then you can manage your downloads and storage. And you can go back to My Account. You see the down arrow? From the down arrow, that takes you to a few more settings. One is screen time. And within there, there's another sub-menu where you can set how long your screen will be on before it times out. And then time, which is just your time. And then your support stuff. And then within here, you can also erase and deregister your device. So y'all, that's it for settings, and that's it for our controls across the top of the device. And now the next thing on our home screen is our library. This is just where your content will appear. Below that, we have recommended for you, and you can make purchases from here, but we'll talk about making purchases in a minute when we go to the actual store. But this is just sort of a quick access point to items that are recommended for you, I guess based on your browsing or your reading or purchases or whatever. Now let's go down to the bottom bar and talk about what we have here. Y'all, when I first turned on the Nook, I had no idea what any of these things were. I could kind of deduce that that first little icon was quick access to my library, and that is in fact what that is. So this takes you to your library, which is where all of your stuff is. Then the second one is like a little purse. This is your store experience. And at the top of the store, you'll see a carousel, which is controlled by these arrows. And you can click across, and you'll notice here these little dots. It's kind of like pages. So you can move across the pages to what's being recommended for you. And if you want to explore what's there, you just click on it and your options come up. So then you can click and it'll show you the book. If there's a free sample, you can access that here. And then tabbed across the top, you can go to details, customer reviews, editorial reviews, and then see more content like the content that you're looking at. On other devices, some or all of that information is available as soon as you click on the book, but in the Nook, you have to sort of click from tab to tab to see that different information. The next item on this bottom bar is quick access to the last thing that you had open, and it takes you right back to the page where you were. Then we have this little circle swirly looking thing. That's the Barnes & Noble Nook Readouts. And y'all, the nearest I can tell, this is kind of Barnes & Noble's version of Goodreads. It's all full of blogs and excerpts and sort of snippets you can read. And again, as near as I can deduce, it looks like it's all from like Barnes & Noble editors or something. Whereas I feel like Goodreads is more sort of crowdsourced. Like Goodreads is from customers and readers. This, I think, is more from Barnes & Noble editors. Y'all, if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments, because I'm kind of having a hard time sorting out what this Barnes & Noble Readouts is all about. I would really like to know, so let me know. But anyway, that's the next thing in that control bar across the bottom. And then the last thing is obviously just a search. So that's it for that control bar across the bottom. Let's talk about this physical in button on the bottom. It's a little like Nook logo, and if you press it, a single press will either take you home or refresh your Nook. And if you long press it for 2 seconds, it'll turn your GlowLight either off or on, depending. So my GlowLight was on, so obviously it just turned it off. And if I do it again, it'll turn it back on. So that's a cool little shortcut to turn your light either off or on without having to go back into all those menus. So that's what the little Nook button does. So now let's get into actually navigating reading a book. So let's go back into the book that I had open. Y'all remember I said I didn't know if I'd ever had a Nook before? Well, apparently I did, because when I signed this one onto my account, I had this little gem on it. It's a book from the Vampirates series. What's the Vampirates series? I have no idea. But apparently some past life iteration of me bought it and bought it on the Nook. So this is what we have. So let's talk about how to navigate in the Nook. You can either touch one side or the other to turn a page forward or back. You can swipe, sort of the standards, or you can use the physical page turn buttons. If you press the button once, it just turns one page, just the standard, right? But if you hold it down, it turns a bunch of pages. Now you have to watch, because it just kind of like jumps, so you have to watch to see where you are in the text as you're like jumping through pages. So that's a long press. If you double tap the page turn button, it'll move forward or back by chapter, which is kind of a cool way to jump through your text. You can also do that with the navigation bar at the bottom. If you just touch the middle of the screen, it'll pull up the navigation bar at the bottom, and you can see what chapter you're on, the name of the chapter, and then what page you're on, your percentage, all of that at the bottom. Let's talk about some other controls that we have within the book. You probably saw just now. If you tap in the middle of the screen, it pulls up this set of controls across the top. From here, this first one is just sort of the standard chapter navigation. This is also where you can see your annotations, bookmarks, and lookups, and y'all, we'll talk about all those in a minute. But let's talk about this one, this AA, which is your text options. So within here, you can change your font size, change the style of your font, and change the weight of your font. You can also change margins, you can change your line spacing, and you can change justification. If you want it not justified, if you want it fully justified, or if you just want it auto, which is however the book is published, it'll do it that way. So that's within this like AA text options control. Within that same menu, we also have the 3 dots, which will allow you to add a bookmark, jump to a page. So if you want to jump to like a certain page within your text, you can do that from there. Search something within the book, or view details. So that's all within those 3 dots on that menu. Now, let's talk about what we can do within the actual text. So if I long press a word within the text, this gives me the option to add a note, highlight, copy, look up, or search. So let's just add a note here. I'm just going to randomly add a note and hit save. And now you'll see at the end of the line, there's that little note notation. You can touch it and it'll pull up your note. So look up here is just a lookup, right? It allows you to look up the word. And then search shows you anywhere else that that word appears in the text. So you can touch that and it'll take you to wherever else the word appeared in the text. So now if we go back to the chapters menu at the top, and go to annotations, it'll show where we made our annotations. Now let's go back. And we talked about this little notes annotation in the corner. If you touch that, it'll pull up the note, but here's what I was talking about, y'all. The screen being so recessed makes it a little bit tough to get into those edge spots. So I don't know, maybe I just have big beefy fingers. Anyway, so those are those menus. There are just a couple of other things that I want to talk about. Let's talk about the GlowLight, because, well, it's a GlowLight. If we go to the GlowLight menu, you can see that the cool setting is very cool, very blue. And if I drag it all the way up into warm, the warm setting is very orange. So if you drag it kind of in the middle, you'll get that nice stone look. We can set night mode to be automatic so the color shift changes throughout the day. Now, let's be clear. The GlowLight 4 doesn't have a light sensor, so it can't tell the ambient light in the setting that you're in and change its warmth setting based on that. It does it based on time. So if you turn it to auto, the warmth of the screen will change based on the time that the Nook is set to. So it does kind of change automatically. Just be aware that that's how it does it. So y'all, that's pretty much it for the Nook GlowLight 4. I think this model came out about a year ago. At the time, it was a vast improvement over the GlowLight 3. So I think Nook people and Barnes & Noble fans were really excited to see this device come out. My thoughts on it, I feel like it's a perfectly workable device. I think that if we were to compare it to Kindles, that form factor wise, it compares to sort of the basic Kindle. Price wise, it compares to the Kindle Paperwhite. But as far as the bells and whistles, I don't think it compares to the Kindle at all. Y'all, this is a very basic e-reader. One thing we didn't talk about was highlighting and note-taking. It does do note-taking, but as far as highlighting, you can highlight a word and that's it. You can highlight a word at a time, and I don't think it even highlights an entire word. Like if you have a long word and you're trying to highlight it on the Nook, it's possible to highlight like part of a word. Now, for some people that might be advantageous. I don't know why, but you might want to just highlight maybe a prefix or a suffix or a root word or something. Kindles won't do that. The Nook will do that. But you can't highlight entire passages. You can't highlight sentences. All you can do is highlight a word at a time. And I don't know that any other e-readers have that limitation. One thing that the Nook does have that I think can be very advantageous to some readers is the physical page turn buttons and the physical home button at the bottom. I think that people who like physical buttons might enjoy those aspects of the Nook. And if you have physical limitations that make it hard for you to control a swipe or a click on a screen, this might be the reader for you. I don't know that there's another e-reader that allows this much control of the content or of what's happening on the device through actual physical buttons. So if you have limited dexterity, this might be something to think about. And if you're committed to the Barnes & Noble ecosystem, you have a lot of Nook books, or you just like Barnes & Noble and you want a Nook, I think this is a perfectly fine e-reader. But in the world of modern e-readers, I find the Nook GlowLight 4 woefully lacking. With that being said, I know that there are people out there who really like the GlowLight 4, and I've even heard from people who use the GlowLight 4 in tandem with the Kindle. Like, they'll read some things on their Paperwhite and some things on their GlowLight 4. Y'all, what am I missing? I really want to like this device, so please, leave me your thoughts in the comments and tell me what I'm missing. Y'all, thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you made it this far, we're definitely friends. So go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you can keep up with the shenanigans. I upload food and fitness videos at the beginning of every week, with some book videos sprinkled in between. See you on the next one.